Good morning, good morning. We are grateful to God this morning for giving us yet another week to start off this show. We are at Contend Show. I'm your host, Pastor Davis Moroki, your favorite breakfast show to help you start the week in the right footing. I'm so grateful to God that we are yet again to discuss certain matters here, just like we've been doing, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome all of us from where you're watching us from. We are live at Oasis of Love, Moya Oasis of Love, Motili, and Enrichas Power Talks. And today, I've lined up my guests. They are ready to hit the road. They are ready to, discuss and delve in this matter that we are having today. We started a discussion last Monday, but one on is marriage a scam? And we're able to look at certain matters and from a biblical perspective, and we realized marriage is not a scam. It's only that some of the negativities have been so much magnified by media until those things seems to be like they are the truth, but it's not so. And last week we were discussing on what makes most marriages to fail, and we're able to look at a few things as guided by our Reverend Carson. And this week, from today, we'll be having a discussion on young people perspective on marriage. And that's what we want to discuss today. So if you have a young person around you, tell them to tell a friend that we are here so that they can be able to give their perspective, their view, their comments, and all that. And then we'll be ready to go. Now, without much ado, I want to introduce my guests to you. And then from there, we can be able to proceed with the show. And I'm so grateful. And remind you still from 18th, this week, in fact, we are starting off our Mount Up conference with Apostle Richard Mayanja and guest worshiper, even Jane Allah. So thank you so much, as well as you prepare to come. Now, I want to welcome my guests so that we can have this wonderful discussion today on young people's perspective on marriage. Karibuni sana.
Asante.
I want to welcome you to this show, even as we delve in this discussion. But first of all, I want you to introduce yourselves, say who you are, and what do you do for a living. Let's start with the gentleman.
Yes, thank you. It's an honor to be here. It's a privilege to be here. I'm so grateful. My name is Ken Kibathi. I am a computer science graduate. I graduated in 2021, but currently I'm in school. I'm pursuing masters in cybersecurity, and I am an eligible single. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. And our sister, Karibu.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm Stella Wendia Wangeshe, born again, and I love Jesus Christ as my personal savior. So I am into agribusiness and a YouTuber. Thank you.
Okay, karibuni sana. Are you seeing anybody? Or have you been seen?
Currently, no.
Currently you are a free electron, ready to mingle.
Very free.
So thank you so much. Now, I want us to have this discussion on young people's perspective on marriage. Why are you guys fearing to get married? Why are you fearing marriage? I heard another day when there were demonstrations by Gen Z. They were saying, they fear God and marriage, So starting with my sister there. Kwa nini mnaogopa ndoa? Kwani kuna shida gani?
Well, so first, let me begin by saying that marriage is ordained by God. So in the aspect of the youth fearing marriage, let me say we're not fearing marriage, but maybe what comes with in the marriage. That is what I can say.
So usually what comes with marriage, eh?
Yes.
Which is? What is this that you feel is coming with marriage and it's making you to fear from your own perspective?
Let me say commitments and a lot of responsibilities. Because once you're getting to it, this is something that you're going to be in a long term. So it's just not like You know, and then marriage is the only course that you get a certificate even before you sit for the test. So you're not even sure of what you're getting into. Yeah.
So most of the young people fear commitment.
Yes.
And responsibilities that come with marriage.
Yes.
What is your perspective, Mr. Kibathi?
Well, first, I understand that when we backtrack time, we'll see that it's true that in our modern day, people are veering off from the issue of marriage and getting into this long-term, lifetime commitment. But I think speaking from the perspective of a boy, a man, is there is so much responsibility that comes with marriage, especially for men, because traditionally and even in our modern setting, the male is the person that is responsible for the providing part. And because of the dynamics that have changed, when we, especially in light of economically speaking, I think that poses a great a great hindrance. And so marriage is not something that we will, I don't know, run to embrace. I think majorly because of that, the responsibility, the financial responsibility that comes with, that is coming with marriage.
Behind you. And then, what made you to, there are people who never graduated.
True.
For one reason or the other. And most of them is not probably lack of school fees. So what really made you to be able to achieve that degree that you are able to acquire?
Well, when it comes to achieving academically, individually now, speaking as it concerns me, I think, of course, when you go to school, there is this notion of when you study and then you want to have a good life, of course, and you know very well that without some element of one, papers, and two, skill, there is only so much you can acquire or accomplish when it comes to making something for yourself outside. And so that is basically, I think, what pushed me to...
Is there a level of commitment in your academics? Was there any level of commitment in your academics?
Of course.
Good. And you are able to achieve,
degree,
right?
4 years. Yes.
4 years of commitment. And that's why you are able to achieve, right?
Oh, yes.
So what is this then that you guys are calling commitment that you are fearing? And these other things that you're doing, you're also putting commitment into it, and you become totally responsible over your life, and you're able to achieve. So, Steph, what is this that you're talking about, commitment, responsibility, that you are fearing, and in this other normal life, you're able to do that?
Okay. First, let me say, marriage is like getting into something you will never come out of. Because once you have signed that certificate, you are there. You're stuck with that person for life. So the question is, am I ready to commit to this one person for life? And then, even the way the society is currently, let me say, as for where I am, I don't have any history of being married. But the marital cases I have solved in my life, and you just see the struggle and the people.
If you're single, you may sort out issues.
I have sought a lot of things, and
once you qualify to get married.
Oh God! And then after I'm done with them, I'll look at them and tell them, you know what? You should pray together. And then I'll look at them jokingly, and I'll be like, "Ushaisikia nimeolewa?" Because sometimes you don't even know how to go about it. But now they are two seated and looking at you. And you have to give them a solution to whatever they are going through. So personally, where I am, I don't think I have never been against marriage. But now, feeling like now this is the person you will have to tolerate for the rest of your life, And they come with their positive side and their negative side. You don't know what I'm seeing today. Will I see it tomorrow? It is not guaranteed. Will this person change eventually? And if you want your person to change, you want them to change for better. So at a personal level, I feel like if this person, yes, he's born again, but will he be whatever I'm seeing currently in the future? Yeah.
Alafu basi, I don't know if I can
Yes.
say something. I think still that the commitment, especially of maybe academics, as compared to the commitment that is needed for a sustainable marriage, I think it's different, because when I'm getting into academics, maybe I'm pursuing a diploma or a degree. So of course taking like 4 years, there is an end, there is something that I will see at the end, and there is a timeline to that. And so the timeline is that after 4 years, I'm actually going to finish with all this waking up early and all these cards and assignments. So there is an end to that. But then when it comes to marriage, this thing is a lifetime commitment. And when I'm getting into marriage, when I'm getting into academics, into academia, when I'm pursuing a degree, in most cases now, in an ideal situation, the only thing that is expected on my part that I'm playing is studying. Because I think my parents or my guardians or my school fees is paid, my upkeep is being catered for by someone else. And so the only thing that I'm doing is just waking up early, attending classes, doing a few chores here and there. But when it comes to marriage, I am the active driver of this thing. And so I think the commitment there is, I don't know if it's comparable.
So kuna, I see some aspect of fear, fear of unknown. You have a lot of uncertainty, and of course I believe you're speaking for the young people. You know, it's a perspective of the young people. That's the way you, in your generation, you're viewing marriage. So, what do you think eventually is going to happen if we continue like that? I mean, how will you deal with this fear, Stella? Because you have spoken about fear that I don't know whether this person will change for worse or for better, and I'm not very sure whether they will still remain, in this, all that. So what do you think is informing that fear? What do you think is backing up that fear that this generation has? And how do we deal with it?
First, let me say about what might be causing the fear. First, let me talk about the upbringing. So, most probably, you find as we were growing up, either our parents in marriage, or even close relatives, or even neighbors, we would see how their marriages would be. Let me talk on the side of provision. As you have said, a man is supposed to be providing. But now we are in an era that women are even working extra harder than men. Whereas we know that men are the head of the family. But now we've come from a background, or currently where we are, because we are in the society and we can see everything that is happening. Like the society or the people around us, they ain't, or you realize that the cases they are having, it's on you're not doing this and you're not doing that. Yeah.
So society has played a role.
Yes, society has played a very big role on this.
What is your thought about that?
I think that first let me start by maybe sharing what could be done or what can be done, because mostly in past years people used to get married a little bit earlier, and I think part of the reason that people used to get married a little bit earlier is because even in the dynamics that used to culture our thinking and the way we would attack life. So first, starting from our background, even economically. So right now, I don't think my parents really did have to go and maybe buy a plot somewhere. That was already provided for them by their parents. But when it comes to me, there is the issue of rent that I have to think about. So I am attacking this first from an economical standpoint now. Speaking as a man, I'm attacking it from that point. Because the moment I get into marriage, if I am feeding myself as I am person right now, of course when I get into marriage, that is another responsibility added. And maybe 2-3 years, there will be another because a child will come in. And so the first act is, I think, there need to be an empowerment. I think, financially speaking, when it comes to job creation, when it comes to empowering the young people to just be able to fend for themselves, really, without depending on other people, I think that will go a long way. And the other is, now fear. Fear is fear. I think fear can only be dealt away with, I think now with the element of God now. Now that having a relationship with God and understanding what God says and speaks about marriage. So I think when we know that, when we understand that, we will know that, like Timothy was told by Paul, that you do not have a spirit of fear. It is of love, of power, and of sound mind. So I think that is what we need to bring in, so that we can kick out, we can obliterate this notion of fear as fear. But the empowerment has to be there first.
Empowerment in every area. So like economic empowerment.
Exactly.
Knowledge and skills also around
True.
Marriage and all that.
Yes.
I have heard my sister talk about today ladies are even working more harder than men and all that. And so it's like our perspective is ile shida pia iko ni nyinyi pia nyinyi mko na kashida mpaka mnafanya waone ni kama
there is that, because there is this
have girls become so empowered and you unempesed that you have an issue, or what is happening?
Well, okay, there is an empowerment, true, in the recent past, the recent years, that has gone a long way to help the girl child. There is this girl child empowerment, but I wouldn't really say that they are working extra than we are, because I think I understand the responsibility that I'm carrying when I'm going into marriage, and I do not think that women, I'm sorry, of course I stand to be corrected, I do not think that they go into marriage with the same responsibility that I have. Because I know the Bible calls me a provider, so I have to provide. And I need to be in a position where I am comfortable, or I am okay with being able to take care of someone, a grown-up even. So,
I want you to come in at that point, because you are the one who started that discussion on that is like ladies and girls are working harder than men. And so does that mean, therefore, because you seem to be so much empowered, that you don't see any need of a man? And does it mean, therefore, that you only needed a man to provide for you? It's like, I mean, what's happening? What do you mean by that?
Okay, first, biblically, the work of the head of the house ni gani? So, as we're standing at that point, let me talk about equality and equity. Because if I'm going into marriage, I want to go with someone I can honor, and not someone I will go back home telling my guardians, you know, this person is not doing 1, 2, 3. So I want a very responsible person as I'm getting into this journey of marriage. So now on equity, am I ready to honor someone who is not doing something for me, marital-wise, let me say, now we've come to an extent, we have kids. And then you're like, I have to provide fully because maybe he's not in a good position too. How am I getting into it? Or let me say, from a point of now he's capable currently, but what if in the future he's not able to? So still, the aspect of fear is coming in so hard that you don't know how to feel once you're getting ready or you're preparing yourself to get into marriage.
So if you are earning more than your man, what do you think about that? Your bet to mesema, what if later he is not capable? You know, so if something happens and probably is the one was providing, and then he loses a job, you know it happens, eh?
Yeah,
So will you continue to support that family, or you say, he's a useless man?
Okay, personally I will support. But the question is he ready to be empowered? Now, still on the point of empowering these human beings, like, are they ready to be, okay, will he be ready now that he's jobless? I'm earning more. And then we might think of, let's start a business. Let us venture into agriculture. Let us do something that can bring extra coin on the table. Is he ready to be empowered? Yes.
You hear that perspective, eh? So it seems like the girl child has become so much empowered. What do you have to say about what she has said?
Well, yes, and I don't want to say I have a problem with that, but it's when you cut off my hands, you cannot then say that I am a lazy person. It's only that I do not have hands. When you cut off opportunities, you can't then call me lazy, a lazy bone or something. It's because I do not have a job. I do not have something that I can do. But then to say that entering marriage, I think in that notion that I think that is fair if you ask me, because if you're going into marriage and then you're like 10 years to come, you might lack a job, and then you do not know. That is fear of the unknown. If you got married to I think a proper person, someone that knows what they are doing, even when they do not have a job, I think they will just find a way. And so I do not think that really should disqualify us as prospects for them. I think that should not disqualify us. But I think there is something I hadn't mentioned that I would have loved to, about why we are not getting married, is part of the other thing. I think it would be that most of us in this generation, we are getting everything that we are getting outside marriage without the responsibility of marriage. Especially now, speaking now in light to a generation as opposed to a Christian circle. Like in a Christian setting, of course, it's different. But speaking now as a generation, I think and media and all these things, we are getting everything that we would get in marriage without the responsibility there. So why now should I get into marriage?
Oh, because I've heard this story of there's no need of buying a cow that you are still milking. You know?
Exactly.
So that is the perspective of many young people.
Yes.
And so let's get here. What do you think is the role of media in all this? You know, this now that perspective and perception young people in this generation have around marriage has been majorly informed by media. So what do you think has been the role of media in this area of marriage, especially the social media, beginning with my sister?
So discussing social media on the marital perspective, mostly once you're checking on it, social media is considering marriage a persona non grata. So what I would say
What do you
is
mean by persona non grata?
like it's a no-go zone.
Okay.
Yes. So if we sit and look at it from the social media aspect, I would say that social media is the only place you wake up, see people flourishing in their relationship, and then the negativity on it, they be like, mtaachana tu, hizo machozi ni premier tears in marriage. So it's influencing the marital journey negatively. But still, taking it to the other side, still we've seen marriage in social media that are doing okay. We've seen people having kids from like the previous celebs. But currently, we don't see marriages that are lasting too long. You find maybe a person you follow, they're having one kid and they're calling it a quit. So once we're talking about marriage, okay, still it depends on how they got into it. Because, we weren't there, well, maybe the person you follow, they were getting into it. And then what we see is the outcome of the choices they made. Now, positively, let me say, it's still influencing the young generation well. Because if you see a couple that have lasted a long time, even if you weren't there while they were talking about it, and they are giving their kids, a promising future, Like from the way you view them, hawa watu wenyewe kuna ile wataenda mbali.
Do you have an example of a couple in social media you have watched and admired?
Yes.
An example?
Let me talk of Terence and Mirichebi. They have been in marriage for long. Then you see the way they go about it, the way they build. They also help build other people. So I watch them a lot. I just love them. Okay. And the way they do their things in their travel blogs, because I also like doing travel. They're just perfect.
So it depends on which side of the coin one
you're
wants
flipping
to,
it on.
Flip on.
Yes.
So what's your perspective of the same? What role has social media played in a perspective, in molding the perspective of young people around marriage?
Yeah, there is a lot of now, because we are in I think we are in the information age, and I can pretty much share everything about my life from where I am right now. And there are a lot of couples in social media that we follow. Some are doing a great job, but there are some others that have a lot of drama coming.
It's like crowd chasing.
They're chasing clout.
Yeah.
Now, because they are chasing clout, there are things that they will do that honestly, when you think that this is what I'm getting myself into when I get married, let me just veer off. Just the other day, there was someone was trending on Twitter because someone cheated and then a baby was involved. It's just circus, chaos. And so when I look at that, Jesus said, to whom much is given, then much is expected. So these people have been given influence. And so what is expected of them then is to mold this beautiful union. But then you can mold it for the good or for the, or you can work for or against it. And sadly, we have those two. And sometimes I think the bad is over, what will I say now, over glamorized, for lack of a better word. What is happening bad in marriage is so loud, and so we see it everywhere.
It's magnified.
Yes, it's so magnified. We see it everywhere, and that is what we are. That is where we are. That is where we are getting our information about marriage from. So when I get that kind of information, this is what I'm getting myself into, I will just veer off.
So it's like, negativity attracts a lot.
Exactly.
So I want to believe as much as we have crowd chasers, we also have people who are serious about their lives. And we have so many examples of people that, they have shown us that it is really working. It's only that
Yes.
the percentage Kenya ka work can magnified so much because some of them are so influential. So we are like, kama ya hawa haijawaka na vile, yangu ndio itaweza.
Vile walikuwa wanapendana.
Si ndio?
Yeah.
So do you have a couple that you admire on social media?
Well, let me think about that.
But it seems you are not a social media person. So Steph,
Yes.
now with the social media, because that's where most of the young people are spending much of their time. In fact, 90% of young people's time in our generation is spent on social media.
Yes.
What do you think we should begin to come up with content that is able to influence them positively about marriage? What is your perspective about that? Because I think that's the only place where we can be able to get them.
Yes. So, about social media and putting positive content, I would support that 100% without compromising. Because if a person who's 19 years old is spending close to 8 hours in social media watching negative content about marriage, as this person is growing, as he or she is getting up here, the mentality that he or she is getting is that I know I will try this thing one day and it will not work. You know, the way you think, it affects your life. So if all I watch online is something negative about marriage, so I'll get into it knowing if another person's marriage who was financially okay, they have 2 or 3 kids, and their relationship ended, what will happen to mine? So I'm likely to get into that marriage with that negative thought. But now imagine if in social media we're having influencers who are talking about 20 years in marriage and we're still pressing on, and they are giving a good vibe about marriage, like positivity. They keep telling you it's working, marriage work, Of course, when it's the time for that 19-year-old getting to get married, they will go with that positivity of, I know a certain person's marriage who's worked well, and so I know mine will work. So on adding content that is positive about marriage, I would recommend that.
No.
Yes.
And because you are on that area of technology and all that, what do you think should be done around that area in terms of technology and all that? Now, because most of the young people are spending so much of their time in there, so how do we help them to be able to use technology positively in relation to getting information and knowledge that is going to influence them later in life, even to have a positive view about marriage?
Yeah. I spent 4 years, mostly, majorly now, because of the previous education system. So you used to spend 4 years preparing for a career. And you would stay there with books, you stay there with teachers and lecturers, just preparing for a career. And that career would, sometimes it's not even lifelong, because most people are not actually doing what they studied in school. And here comes marriage, and it's so sad sometimes that people do not get to prepare well for this, because there is no, I would say there is no structured school or curriculum. I think outside the church, I think the church is what is doing a good job with the premarital talks and counseling and all that. The church is doing a great job. But I don't think that there is a structured secular, there are structured secular teachings of marriage, yet marriage is key. Yes, it is a primary institution. Marriage, it is the family institution affects the community at large. I think there should be a lot of content out there, people everywhere pushing the content that one, now that we say that negativity is loud and it attracts, there should be a lot of positive content just showing that marriage really works. Whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, just everywhere, there should be a lot of content. People speaking about these things. There should be people who are not coming from the point of celebrities who are pushing this content and who are actually sharing vital information and just notes about marriage, maybe from experience or from study. So I think we should bombard the internet with all this content. It should be there. It should be readily available. If right now I go to YouTube and I want to learn programming, there will be numerous content about programming. Mi ndo nitakuwa nachagua ni gani. But sometimes maybe when I want to learn about marriage, I will have to filter what is true. And sometimes I do not know, so hata nitachoka tu nayo. So I think there should be a lot of positive content out there, and people, even from the church, pushing people, you can go listen and refer to this person, refer to this person, refer to this person. Just positive content out there, speaking about marriages.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, because you talked about issues of content creation and all that. How do you think we should go about that, creating that content? How do we go about creating that content so that we're able to bombard social media platforms with positivity, just like he has said? Right now, if you wanted to learn about something, ukienda to YouTube type tu hivi, zinakuja mingi mpaka unachagu. You need to choose probably from your favorite person, you know what you want to learn. But when you type marriage, if there's a possibility, the first thing you're going to meet is marriage is a scam. You know, that's what you're going to get there. So how do you go about creating content that is positive, and so that we can be able to bombard social media with that? And especially now, you have talked about the church.
Yes.
And the church is doing a great work. We do a lot of premarital counseling, youth meetings, you know, all that, to try to help them.
Yes.
And most of the pastors, we don't have so many who are in social media. Many fear, I don't know what's happening, especially TikTok. Now ndio kuna upuzira mingi sana. So how do we go about that?
So I guess we need to be informed, because we are in a generation that we're getting everything around us very rightly. So we need to be informed about the real life and the social media life. Now, once we're creating content, and now we're talking about the positive side of the content, we need to show the young generation that it's true, marriage works. Because I know once we're watching from outside here, we see marriages that are doing okay. But now these marriages are not on social media. But now the people who are influencing the young generation in the social media, they are the people who are tarnishing the name of and being like, marriage is a scam, whereas we know it's not. Because in the aspect of the word of God, by the time a man meets a woman, the knowledge or the view of God bringing them together is to bring up a godly seed. So then how are we going to get that godly seed if we are not positively informed? So what I would say is, if at all we'll have to bring out content, let us also be observant of whatever is happening around us. Let us not major on that negativity, because now if we say that there is negativity online, and then we pick negativity in real life, then this is going to be so hard for us, or even to try to figure out considering the fact that it's a marriage that you're getting into and you have never been to it. It's a life you're getting to share with someone, considering you have never shared a life with someone else, like apart from your siblings. So now, on a point of content, I would suggest that even the church should be going louder, like the way you're saying about our pastors. They should not have that fear of what will happen if I post this. How will people pick it up? We will pick it as it comes. If it's coming in with the positivity, trust you me, we're going to have a generation that is picking the right things from the right people and not picking the wrong thing from the wrong people. And we know. Yeah.
So, still on that point, before I come to Kibadhi, Mr. Kibadhi, now, in case a pastor feels probably I will not go to TikTok, I will not do all those stuffs and all that, don't you think that in the church most likely we have couples wenye wana vibe? You know, hata kwa church kuna couples wenye huwa wana vibe.
Yes.
Hata nyinyi mnaona yenyewe hawa wana vibe
too.
vizuri, wanaweza kuwa, you know, a good example to the community.
Yes.
Don't you think then we should also begin to support them positively so that we tell them, you guys, you need to, we admire the way you're doing, you know, take this thing online. Because, yes, you know, hiyo mambo inafanyika kule, sisi tunaicastigate. They are the wrong things, munafanya nini huko?
Yeah.
Lakini nyinyi mko huko, sisi tuko huku. So hata tukipiga kelele tukiwa huku, hatufiki huko mko.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Should we also, and I think we begin also to change mentality, kwa sababu pia kama kanisa tunaona hii couple so wameanza kuenda TikTok, you know, ni tabia gani wanaenda kufanya huko. You know, I think also tuko na kashida.
Yeah.
What do you think we should do?
I think that we should support them. If it's a good couple, especially in our church. I normally just look around and you see, this couple, the way they run their things, the way they just do their things, you know, you admire them. And as you're praying to God, you even feel like, oh God, I am tapping into that grace, you know, of how this marriage seems to be working very right. And you also, we observe even the way they communicate. And I remember a certain time we were talking with my friends outside and we were discussing a certain couple. And you'll be like, ushamsikia venye anamuitanga mbele ya watu. And then there is this other couple that is just silent. So for these people who are likely to empower the youth positively, we should give them that platform. Because let me tell you, there is nothing good as listening to a story being told of we started somewhere and now this is where we are. We started where we had nothing. He believed in me and I believed in him. We entrusted each other and now this is the far we have come. You know, if now that's the kind of content that is being displayed out there to the young generation, you know, a certain couple from a certain church that came from this level, it doesn't matter. Yes, they went through something. And it felt as if it was the end of it, but they still came out of it strong. Now, getting in with that mentality of, yes, I'm getting into it. If at a certain point it gets into and it feels as if it's dropping, I know someone who did it and it came out well. Yeah, so I guess this kind of content needs to be uploaded more about marriage.
Okay, so what is your take about that?
Yeah, there is that issue about models, that there should be models. When a generation lacks models, people that they can look forward to, then an Elisha will never know that they can part the Jordan until they see an Elijah parting it. And so we should be loud, but then there are two sides to this coin. Two sides to this coin coming from the point of there is the people, us now, who are feeding off from that content, or whatever it is on the social media, and there are people who are posting that content. Now, the church should encourage everyone, young people like you mentioned, to just post, just let there be content. Let the truth be there. It says, buy the truth and sell it not. Let the truth be there. Let it be there. Let it be there on social media for anyone that might want to go and buy. He says, Jesus said, go to them that sell, so that if I want to buy anything, that I will find it readily available. But then on the other hand, we as the generation, or we as the people that are being directly affected, I think there should be an awareness, sort of, so that we do not go on social media and then we are feeding off of the wrong food just because we are hungry. So there should be that sensitization too, that I want to get information, but not all information is good. So there is the right kind of information, and that is what I will go for. That is what I want to go for. When the Bible says, do not be drunk with wine, but be filled. So if you're telling me not to be drunk with wine, then
there's no alternative.
Yeah, there is no alternative. There should be an alternative. So then now that speaks to the church and everyone involved, that we should play a very big part in being loud, so that I will have an alternative, because you're telling me not to feed off from this garbage. So what is the alternative then?
So the church has a big role to play in changing the perspective of people, especially in a community.
Yes.
So that idea of content creation, I think as a church we need to try and come up strongly.
Yeah, just speaking in the language of the people.
So that we put everything there. We may not be targeting anybody, but should be there anybody interested with that content, then they can always
find it.
Right? Yes. Which is good. Thank you so much. Let me acknowledge some of us who are following. Paul Gakuya saying watching. Win Wanjiro watching. Lucita Shazi Karemi. Christy Boy Bahati following the show from Nyeri. We have Jane Paul Gakuya tuned in at Ken, our son.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you so much, Pastor Jane and Paul there. Yes, I'm with your son. Unasikia akona mapoint kari. So you have done a good work. God bless you. Bernard Nadwa is following. You have Mary Kamodho following also. We have Faith Mwangi. Kuna itano hapa, Rising General, kujeni muone watu wetu addressing the nation. You have Nerika Romugo, Rising Generals, and then you have others who are also following. We'll be able to check that. Let me see whether on Enricha's platform, whether we have people who have commented. Staki vita after this. Oh, nilifuata huku ni acknowledge. I don't want any battle, so let me confirm what we are having here. And okay, probably they'll come up very soon. So thank you so much for following us. We are still here live on Oasis of Love, Moya, Oasis of Love Mutidi, and Enrichas Power Talks, even as we share about this matter on young people's perspective, and on marriage. And there are so many things there that are going on, and these guys are really giving me a run for my money here, and I'm so grateful to God for that. And if you are there, please make sure you share this information, because just like they have said, as a church we need to have positive content out there, so that, there's a lot of negativity there and we keep on complaining, but as much as you're complaining, there's a lot of negativity. What positivity are you bringing? Because there should always be an alternative. So as a church, we have a great responsibility to play in making sure that we have positive content out there. Now, we are almost coming to the end of this thing, and I want us to get into another area that we discussed before we come to an end of the show, and I know we will be moving in the right path. Now, I want to come to this Gladys Wanjiro Mugo. We are proud of you, Ken. And we have Mother Wamuroki. Nice one. You guys, na sioni. Kwani jenzi wako wapi? Wale wanasema wanaogopa ndoa wasaidiwe na hawa anafia. So, let's come to this. History ya vijana mnataka wa mamas. Na wanataka wa babas. What's happening? What's the problem? What has happened? Because I think pia hiyo ni kitu imechangia kukua sasa hakuna mahusiano juu kama huyu anataka mbabas na anataka mama, so mtaionana hamtaionana, so kuna kaishu hapo. So starting with Stella, ni historia ni wababas wanataka wasichana wadogo ama ni nyinyi mnataka hawa? What's happening around there?
This is a very wide topic because I have followed a lot of stories concerning about this. So let me say how they phrase it. So they be like, for example, me and Ken are like almost in the same age set. So what I'm looking for, he don't have it, because also I don't have it. For example, a man, okay, a lady, no, I'm just using us. I want a person who has materials, like financially okay, driving a big car, owning properties, because no one wants to languish in poverty in this generation. So if that is what I'm looking for, he don't have it because I don't have it either. Now, what will happen if that is what I'm looking for? I'll go to the person who has it, who will be older than me, now being termed as the mubabas. So that is where the mentality, or that is where we're getting, and the influence of the wamama na wababas. Then on the side of gents, this person is looking for a person who is experienced. I'm not. He's looking for a person who can call him kababa anytime, you know. But sahi, we are in that stage of tunajijenga. Unaweza kuwa na hiyo time ya kumuita kababa, but is kitu yenye anataka, am I providing? Yeye anataka ka soft life, you know. Based on hiyo point ya responsibility, tuseme ninataka kuprovidiwa, hana uwezo. So yeye atafanya nini na hataki kuniprovidea? He's going to go for the person who can provide for him. So that is where the aspect of the wamamas and wababas is getting into. Yes.
What is your perspective on why are you guys going for wamamas when girls are just here?
Well, I think first I'll say that when the fear of the Lord fades in a generation, then abominations and taboos slowly creeping into the play. And this is actually what is happening, but I thank God that it's not happening majorly on the Christian community. Because in the Christian community, if you become a Christian, there are laws that you walk into. You're not just you do not just move on.
Do you want to say, Mr. Kibadi, these things are not happening around Christian community? You know, Kenya is 80% Christian community.
Yes.
So 80%, in that 80%,
yes,
these are the people who are doing it, and they carry the label of Christianity. So it's still happening, and most likely even in the churches.
Well, yeah, Christian as a religion, but not people who've chosen to be Christians on the wave of relationship, because it's different. You can be a religious Christian, but that is not it. You have to have a relationship sort of with Jesus. And you cannot have a relationship with Jesus and run around with wababas or be a Ben 10. But, well, that put aside, it's a good point that we are actually a Christian nation. And so we pride ourselves of having Christian values. So when we see ourselves running with wamama and all, it's an issue. But I think mostly when speaking in this side of ladies and having older people, I think sometimes the reason it was even like it would pass as something that is accepted or maybe acceptable, because in school it used to happen. We used to see them come and park cars and take our to wasichana alafu wanawapeleka on Friday na Thursday. I think mostly kulikuwa na hiyo shida ya there was that economic problem. because girls wanted to survive, and then because they wanted to survive, they would do anything so that they can survive. But then it reached a point that even when they would easily survive, easily thrive,
They are used to.
yeah, they're used to that thing. So they will just continue on doing it, maybe because of one reason or another. And I wouldn't say it's because we are not there, although I understand that maturity-wise, some of us are lacking. But I wouldn't really say that it's because of that. I think there was that issue. It started off well, in quotes, because they were looking for something. Maybe they wanted to just survive, but then there was moral degradation. And when there was moral degradation, then all these things happened. I think because the fear of the Lord was not tangible in the generation. We can be religious, we can be a Christian nation, but then lacking of the fear of God. And then when we lack in the fear of God, then everything else can be accepted.
I think Kibadi is already giving us solutions on solutions on how to deal with it, the fear of the Lord. What do you think then can also help this generation so that we don't have that issue of young men are saying girls wako na wababas na nyinyi wasichana mnasema nao wako na wamama, so kaende kakienda, you know?
Yeah, so there was a certain time I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, everything that happens, normally have the first person who starts it. So I was like, the person who started this thing, like what was on their minds? Because now you can imagine, for example, a young girl with a very elderly person, and you know it's a curse to see an older person. You know? So, Nirana, yes. So I'm like, oh, you know that the origin. Of course, there had to be no that fact or that matter of fearing God. So, and also the other thing that is influencing it more is the way we're taking foreign things. We don't care. Baraiko. If I don't think lesbianism started in Kenya. Personally, I don't think so. Yeah, and I stand to be corrected. Yeah, I don't think so. It's something that came from outside.
So it's like we believe whatever comes from the West is the best.
Exactly. Yeah. So we just pick it as it's coming, and the wave is driving us away from God, from the will of God. Because, for example, LGBTQ, that is not the will of God. And I will keep on telling people that LGBTQ is not the will of God. Yes, so I guess we should also stop taking them foreign things. And for example, this thing na kufuga pets, that is not something that originated. I'm talking about Kenya because this is my country and I'm proud, you know. So, and now you'll find people hata ni karibu wana worship their pets, you know. And unaweza pata mtu choosing not to go to a place of worship because they have a sick pet in the house, you know. So maybe I think the things that we're getting foreign wise, like vitu zenye zinatoka niseme majuu, they should stop influencing us. Yes.
So, culture, Western culture, of course, there's the positive side of the Western culture,
yes,
on civilization, but kuna negativity yenye pia tunapike. So it's also in ma movies na nini na vitu kama hizo zote tunaona, and then the grandiose of wanting to be, you know, the getting rich quick scheme kind of. So people should learn that godliness and contentment is a great gain.
Yes.
Now ajue that it's a process. You know, we are starting off somewhere with Kibadi. I mean, down as we move up. You cannot all of a sudden find yourself at muko young, na muko na nyumba, muko na gari. It starts somewhere. Lakini mnataka to big things, you know. And naitwa big things mnazitaka all of a sudden, you know, like the magic, you know, the magic genie. This, and then you have the house, you have the kids, you have that life. Now let's add this way, because now Stay has triggered my mind about something I wanted us to talk about, but we can just start it off and then we continue with it later, because we have just a few minutes, I think around 9 minutes to do so. Let me acknowledge Adasha Jage. You know her?
Yes.
Is your cousin?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
ask her
Thank you.
about me. She will tell you more. Then Kazuma Muturi Juma, Gitari Ephraim KE. Then Gladys Wanjiro Mogo. Wow, Ken has given us a big one. Having a relationship with Jesus is not about being a Christian. Mary Kamodo, a very interesting show. Gitari Ephraim, singles and dating. We are taking notes. Continue taking notes. Hapa notes ni mingi, hakikisha uko na 200-page exercise book. Notes ni mingi sana hapa. Now, let's finalize with this. Mr. Ken.
Yeah.
I've also come to realize one of another major thing that is causing young people either to fear or not to be interested with marriage is the bit of LGBTQ also. We are losing so many girls to girls and so many young men to young men.
Yeah.
So eventually, sinaona kimeumana, hiyo imeenda hivyo, hiyo imeenda kabisa. So what is your take about LGBTQ? Now, first of all, generally from how things are and what is happening, and then from a Christian perspective.
Yeah. First, it's not, you know, the former president, in an interview when he was being questioned about this issue of LGBTQ, and he wasn't speaking from a Christian standpoint. He was actually speaking, I think, culturally. He said that this is not an issue that is directly affecting us right now.
Does not warrant.
Yeah, this does not warrant all this loudness that we are seeing everywhere, because it is not our thing right now. A time will come, maybe, we are hoping it will never come, but a time will come that it will be so on the streets and we will have to talk about it, but that time is not here yet, because it is not in our culture, honestly speaking. Not even speaking as Christians, just speaking as just Kikuyus and Meru and Luos. This is not our thing. It is not our thing.
So either ukue Mukristo ama usikue Mukristo, that's not even something we should be talking about.
You know very well that there are two genders, male and female. It only takes a man, and it is only those that fit, nothing else. And we should be loud about it, and we should not shy from just saying the truth. But then there is this other thing, when we watch movies, the Taylor Perry movies, they have a lot of these things. And these things, they really do culture our thinking, our mentality. I remember, before I got born again, you'd be amazed that I was actually okay with it. I was okay with lesbianism and gayism. I was like, as long as it's not me.
It's not me. I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem.
You have a right to do what you want.
You do what you want. Love who you want. So that was me before I got born again.
So what changed?
But then I got born again, and of course there is a culture that you meet in Christianity. And in Christianity, there is no sitting on the fence. It's either light or darkness in this kingdom. There is no way around it. And that is what has shaped my thinking. That is what has shaped my belief that this thing is ungodly. It is unnatural. That is Romans chapter 1 calls it unnatural. Unnatural. These are unnatural passions. And if they are unnatural, what is natural is male and female. So acha kwanza tupigane na hii kitu ya boy na girl. This thing of LGBTQ.
Sasa hata ndio nashindwa, mumeshindwa boy girl bado hamjaweza. Sasa mumeenda boy girl. Sasa shida hata iko wapi? Umeshindwa na msichana. What is your perspective about that? Because you mentioned about it, Stay.
My perspective on it, what I'll say personally, it's wrong. Like, biblically wrong. Because hata ufilingi vibaya, like hata ufilingi vibaya. No, the fact that you're comfortable with your fellow woman, like what you doing? So I don't think it's the best thing to do. Mine, I will stand against it until the end. Now also, let me talk about the other thing that might be influencing it more. It's about our high school, boarding schools. So from school, from that point of now you are in a boarding school, a girls' school, or a boys' school, that is not your fellow, like, future mate. So just look at them as a sister. Then this knowledge needs to be given to these teenagers a lot, because if we miss it at that 13 years, if we miss it there, by the time we get into 19 years, it will be too hard to correct the error. So if it's in school, let the teachers talk to the girls and the boys in schools about this. Let the kids know that it is wrong. Even after they have crossed school and they are at home, like the way we normally have the mentorship programs, let this be discussed. Let it be made aware to these young teenagers that it is wrong to see your fellow like Paul, you know? Yeah.
So, and I think it's not just about teenage. We think we need to start early because even in cartoons, wameanza kuleta hizo vitu kwa cartoons. So you see they have begun to influence watoto wakiwa wandogo tu. So you also need to, you know, like kama ni mzazi, angalia content yenye mtoto wake ana watch. Cartoon ni gani? Because zimefichwa huko ndani tu, you know, and then ina influence mind. By the time anakomana huko kama ni msichana ana taste na mwanaume, kama ni kijana ana taste na girl, you know, and all that. And then just like you've said, we need to keep on talking about it every now and then, you know. And still back to the church. The church, do you think the church has a role to play around that?
Of course. The church has a role to play in all areas, I think, that pertains to life and pertains to culture. I think the church should be at the forefront of everything that is ungodly. The church should be there, because honestly speaking, it's only the church that has remedy for these things. And so the church should be vocal about it. I do not think that this issue of LGBTQ is spoken so much in the church. I don't think we do a good job there. But I think there is something there. I don't know. I do not know. Maybe it's because it's not as rampant. I think in even side of town, I don't know. But because in the churches in the West, I think it's an issue there. People are speaking about it because there are woke churches. There are churches that have even pastors as in the LGBTQ community. So in those areas, they are so loud about it. Some of the churches, of course, but in our setting, I do not think that we speak about it as much. But I think we should.
What do you think is the problem? Because it's like as long as hatujaona kitu, so hatuyongelelei. But most likely iko tu chini ya maji. So by the time inaripuka, we'll not be able to address it. So I think we should start way before itufikie ili kama iko tuishughulikie. You know, it's like you allow, you know, a snake in your house, juu ni kadogo, umeona tu kamekuwa hachi kadogo, useme acha kae ni kadogo. Tunaona kataendelea. So by the time you're thinking of, you know, killing it, hata ni vile you may be the culprit there. So I think the church has a very big role to play around that. So we need to preach about it, talk about it, and you know, hold such shows and you know, one way or the other. Stay, you know, this is content now we have also put on social media, you know, and that's exactly what you're doing. Somebody will be interested na atakuta na hii hapa one, kwani hiyo ni Ken anasema nini, will be interested to say, ati Ken kuna time alikuwa ana shida na hiyo akiona anasema na sasa alibadilika, so I can still change. You know, that's the kind of influence that we need to have around that. Hey, so we have Nehemiah Mushera, a good one on this. Ken, nimekuona, keep setting the pace. You know him, man.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we have Wilfred Muriuki saying this younger generation is materialistic. They don't believe in themselves. They have a mentality that they cannot start from zero to something. Wow. You know, I think that's a very good point. And then we have Patrick Munyui. Congratulations, son. Unamjua huyo, eh?
Yes.
Good. So we are doing fine. We need to come to the end of it. Gladys Wajiro Mogo, thank you, Stella. Educating young teens is key. Yeah. Those things are coming on well, and we bless God for that. So we need to come to the end of this show. I want to give each one of you an opportunity to say something, summarize now everything, and give a punchline. So look at that camera and address the nation.
State of the nation address.
Yes. Stay.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having us, Dad. So actually, the way you invited us, very cutesy, very demure, very mindful, so thank you so much, you all, for watching. We do not take your presence, watching us to this far, for granted. We appreciate you, and thank you so much. May God bless you. So before you leave, make sure to drop down a comment, give this video a thumb up, and also share. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and let us education a generation positively. Let us make people know the truth about God and what is happening in the world. Thank you so much.
What to do, say, to that young man who had been having fear about marriage?
It's easy, because we've seen it work for other people, and whatever is working for other people can also work for you. So I don't think there is that need of having that fear anymore, because we're moving on regardless. We are a seed of God, and then we'll have to stand as a seed of God.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kebadi.
Yeah, thank you. First is to say that the fear of the Lord is wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy is understanding. And if we want to understand the elements that define our humanity, we cannot get that understanding elsewhere. That understanding can only be gotten from the Word of God, because the Word of God is what shapes our very lives. The Word of God is not even only for Christians. Everyone, as long as it appertains to this life, you can get something from the Word. But then when it comes to our souls, our eternity, then we have to have a relationship with Jesus. So we mentioned earlier that this is a Christian nation, but that is not what will help. What will help is having a relationship with Jesus. And so I want to speak to young people out there. Is the only thing I can tell you is to give your lives to Christ. There is so much that we can get from Him. Giving your life to Christ is not. It is not when you failed in life. It is actually when you in your prime.